Hello, welcome back. The Winter King explores the history of the Saxon invasion during Britain's Dark Ages, fusing the King Arthur legend with some historical truth. The King Arthur legend and its enduring components, such as the Sword in the Stone and the Knights of the Round Table, have undergone several revisions and interpretations. There have been harsh depictions of King Arthur from 2004 in fantastical epics like Excalibur on the big screen. The first book of Bernard Cornwell's The Warlord Chronicles, a well-known trilogy that aimed to meld myth and real history, was adapted for the screen by MGM as The Winter King. The Dark Ages, so named because the Roman Empire had collapsed and left the people of Britannia vulnerable to invasion by the Anglo, Jute, and Saxon tribes, are the period in which the Winter King is set in 5th century Britain. The first episode of The Winter King's introductory paragraph also outlines the complicated political situation in the nation, explaining how it was nearly difficult for the High King of Dumnonia, other Pendragon, to bring together the warring tribes of Christians and pagans to fight the Saxons. Prince Mordred, the heir to the Pendragon dynasty, is killed in a conflict between the Saxons and the Kingdom of Dumnonia as the Winter King begins. The king exiles others bastard Arthur from Britain since he failed to defend his half-brother during an off-screen conflict. Pendragon needs all the assistance he can get to repel the Saxon invaders, despite the respect and loyalty Arthur inspires among his troops. The origins of the Saxons in Britain are subject to dispute. Even while the Roman army may have invited some state Saxon mercenaries to assist in repelling subsequent Scottish and Irish assaults, the island became far more desirable as a place to settle when the Roman legions left. The Anglo-Saxons' migration to Britain was also influenced by climate change, as flooding in their own country drove them to look for land that wouldn't flood. Due to the Romans' withdrawal, Britain was left exposed to invasion due to its warm summers, which resulted in superior crops and farmland. The opening episode of The Winter King reveals that the conflicting kingdoms also caused havoc in the nation. Britain had already been partitioned into several kingdoms and tribes when the Romans arrived. It became more challenging to bring Christians and pagans together to fight the Saxons as a result of the Romans' departure. Arthur stumbles upon a recently plundered fishing village in Dumnonia not long after being exiled from Britain. Here, he discovers a death pit full of spiked bodies, but he also discovers Derfel, a severely injured Saxon slave child. Derfel is saved by Arthur, who subsequently brings him to Merlin for medical attention. 8 years later, in The Winter King, Derfel has grown up and is now a part of Avalon itself. Derfel has the good fortune that no one at Avalon objects to his ancestry, and they raise him as one of their own. Derfel, however, is plagued by visions of his mother's killers and memories to the raid. He learns who led the raid towards the end of the first episode of Winter King, which stars Simon Merrills as King Gunleus of Siluria. Gunleus wishes to demonstrate his loyalty to Dumnonia after purportedly undergoing a religious conversion. However, although Arthur gives him a chance, Derfel is likely to pursue retaliation. Before being exiled, Arthur frantically tries to tell his friend and others' best fighter Owain about his strategy for holding off the Saxons. The British Celtic kingdom of Dumnonia, which was mostly situated in modern-day Cornwall in southwest England, still dominates the Isle, according to Arthur, but Arthur is too complacent to notice. Arthur explains to Owain that his father needs bring the tribe kings together in order to solidify their support for the upcoming war in order to defeat the Saxons. He also warns Owain that Dumnonia must hold the line because if the Saxons step foot west of Caliva, everything will be gone. Of course, Owain thinks that the kingdom has little prospect of success without Arthur. Arthur concentrates on producing a new successor during the 8 years, which causes his grip on authority to deteriorate. When Merlin hugs the newborn Prince Mordred, he experiences a death of Britain vision, believing the child is malevolent and that Mordred becoming king will bring about the end of the nation. However, without Arthur's assistance, it might already be too late to halt the Saxons. Arthur reaching out to Gunleus suggests that he might finally buy into uniting the tribes. Although the Romano-British eventually organized a powerful defense, the Anglo-Saxon invasion of Britain first encountered little opposition. The Winter King, another blending of fiction and reality, offers scant proof that King Arthur is a real historical figure, although some historians believe he may have been modeled after Ambrosius Aurelianus, a Romano-British resistance leader who led several victories against the invaders. The Battle of Badon Hill, which took place at the tail end of the 5th century, pitted the Britons against the Saxons in a brutal conflict. Although it is one of the final significant battles that the Britons are thought to have won, the Anglo-Saxon clans went on to build numerous separate kingdoms. In essence, Anglo-Saxons are the ancestors of modern-day England, and the vast majority of King Arthur legends originate from this Dark Age period of English history. The real story's past is considerably bloodier, more complicated, and less magical than the tales suggest, but the Winter King is trying to plant the myth with fact. The Saxons are currently portrayed in the series as mythological boogeymen. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget